Breaking news.
Welcome in. We are following that breaking news out of Oklahoma, where some major developments this afternoon in the disappearance of the two Kansas women. 12 News reporter Cale Chapman joining us in the studio. And Cale, what have we learned today?
Well, Dylan, this afternoon, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation confirmed with us that 4 people are in custody in connection to the disappearance of Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley. OSBI says 1 person was arrested in Texas County, Oklahoma. The other 3 people were arrested just 1 county over in Cimarron County. Now, all of this is in the Oklahoma Panhandle. OSBI has not released the identities of these 4 people. Butler and Kelley have still not been located. They've been missing now for 2 weeks. We've been talking with OSBI all afternoon and expect to hear more from them soon. Dylan?
Cale, thank you. And as he mentioned, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley were last seen 2 weeks ago when the 2 women were traveling to pick up Butler's children. But Butler and Kelley never made it to their location. Their vehicle was found abandoned near a highway in rural Texas County, and the OSBI said, according to evidence, foul play is suspected. Still, that search for the 2 women continue as multiple agencies are assisting in that investigation. And when we receive an update from law enforcement, we'll have that information on air and our 12 News app. Also breaking news,